Have you ever talked to a doctor about your condition?
This is madness!
The entire world shall overflow with his grace.
What's happening to me?
There's a ton of horror game remakes, remasters, and reboots coming out. And I know what you're thinking. Don't touch the classics, you're gonna ruin them. Well, they don't have to be bad. In fact, these remakes can be fantastic, but only if developers follow the rules.
There are certain rules.
So let's take a look at the 5 rules for remaking horror games. To start, it's key to pick the right game to remake. The original game should be significantly dated in some way, whether that's gameplay, visuals, or even availability on current hardware.
You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right.
Of course, this is subjective, but if the original game is really only accessible to very few, it may be a candidate for a remake. This is one reason The Last of Us Part 1 remake was so poorly received. The original came out in 2013, with a remaster in 2014 that's playable on current-gen consoles, and still looks and plays great. No one can really explain why this game needed to be remade.
Is it all just about money?
Whereas a game like Alone in the Dark has aged about as well as fine milk. Not only does the original look and play like this, but it's hard to play it these days, even with a port on iOS in 2014. So bringing this game to current platforms and making it accessible to more people makes a lot of sense. After selecting the right game, it's important to know what made the original so special to so many in the first place. Whether it's the story, the characters, the atmosphere, certain mechanics, whatever it is, those core elements should be brought forward with the remake. Remakes, and most notably reboots, are notorious for changing up so much that it no longer resembles the original game. This is usually a cynical way to gain interest with the name alone and shows a clear lack of understanding and respect for what made the game so special in the first place.
Get a load of this thing, huh?
Alone in the Dark from the PS3, Xbox 360 era falls more into the reboot territory, but the developer Eden Games clearly didn't respect the original. Does this
I'm the fucking universe!
look anything like that? The RE2 remake, on the other hand, clearly took great care and respect for the original to capture what made it so captivating in 1998, while modernizing the overall experience.
It's not just comms with the guidance system. Got the Ishimura's in the red. Engines.
Now this is an important balance with rule number 2. The remake should be something new to elevate the experience in some way. This doesn't have to be drastic. The Demon's Souls remake, and yes, I consider Demon's Souls to be a horror game, is nearly a one-for-one remake. However, the visuals were dramatically improved, the gameplay was smoothed ever so slightly, and even things like haptic feedback add something new to the experience. Whereas the Silent Hill HD collection adds nothing but jank and sadness. Subverting player expectations is particularly important with horror game remakes. It's hard to scare someone the exact same way twice, so changing up some of the scares will keep all players, old and new, on their toes. A great example of this is in the RE1 remake on the GameCube. In the original game, the dog jumping out of the window caused the collective youth in the 90s to rightly crap their pants. But the remake subverts that expectation. When walking through the same corridor in the remake, you're ready for that dog. But wait, where is it? It's not until you go back through the hall a second time where you'll need a change of underwear.
What the fuck?
Another blow today. Carl reported Keith and his group are dead.
Of course, when remaking a game, the hope is to capture a whole new audience, create new fans who never played or may never have even heard of the original. However, don't forget those who've been with the game since the beginning. The fans have kept the flame burning bright all this time. They'll either be the remake's biggest cheerleaders or whatever the opposite of a cheerleader is.
Whatever, we all die alone anyways.
While it may not be possible to give the community everything they want, it's important to know who these fans are, what they value, and what has kept their passion strong over the years. Fans know their beloved games inside and out, so eliminating or changing a portion of the story, key mechanics, or any other aspect of the original won't go unnoticed. This was the primary criticism for the Resident Evil 3 remake. This game was, in many ways, just as solid as the far more celebrated RE2 remake in terms of polish, visuals, gameplay, but didn't deliver on all of the content from the original. Most notably, the clock tower section was completely absent from the remake. This wasn't just some throwaway area either. This was a lengthy and integral section of the original game that was seemingly eliminated as a way to cut corners. Whereas the recent Dead Space remake enhanced many of the original scenes by keeping the overall tone and the way they played out, but allowing Isaac to actually interact in more meaningful ways.
Easy to say the wrong thing.
I don't blame you. I'd listen to my girlfriend over Hammond reciting security protocols.
Forewarned is forearmed, Miss Davis.
While there are exceptions to any rule, by following these 5, developers are almost guaranteed to avert disaster. Alright, now that you've heard all about the rules, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Also, what horror game needs that remake treatment? Let's talk about it in the comments down below. Now, if you want to see some great horror games being remade this year, check out my video right here. I want to thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.